I am an anarchist. And I think maybe you should consider becoming an anarchist too. Anarchy means without ruler. And it's normally associated with a state of lawlessness, war, chaos, and general mayhem. And I will say straight away that the reason that I'm an anarchist is that it is the only way to go about things without the threat of violence. Any other way to govern a state works in such a way that at the end of the line there is violence. Let me explain. Property taxes. You know that I am a big proponent of owning land, if you can, owning your own house and so on. And I'll get to that because some people, they think that anarchy means that you can't own anything. But in most of Norway, and I think in all of the USA and most other Western countries, there is property taxes. And if you don't pay your property taxes, they will take your property. Well, what then if you say, no, you can't have my house? Well, then eventually the police will come and they will try to put you in prison. What if you resist? Because, I mean, it's your house and so on. Well, then they will grab you using violence. So that's the example that is often used when it comes to explaining why any other way of governing a state than anarchy, at the end of the line there is violence. Same with any sort of dogmatic thinking like theocracy. You have to bend your knee to our God, or else there will be consequences, and those consequences will be robbing you of your freedom and/or violence. Same with communism or socialism. Oops. Sorry. It's raining. Yeah. At the end of the line, always violence. I will be the first person to tell you that anarchy would never work. Yeah. I don't think it would work because people would take advantage of the lack of rules, the lack of a police force and things like that. And yeah, because there are bad people out there. And especially now with organized crime, they would just take advantage of people. So I tend to say that I'm a theoretical or philosophical anarchist because I realize that it would never work. Now, I mentioned property, and I am not living in the illusion that I would be able to defend my house against gangs of violent, crazy people. And neither would you be able to. It's just not realistic, right? So again, I don't think anarchy would work. But I mentioned this, I'm trying to shield the camera from the wind. I'm out there on the beach, you know. Yeah. Where was I? Yeah, you know, you can still say that you're an anarchist even though you realize that it would never work. Because other people tend to say the same thing, like socialists. They will say that I'm a socialist and so on. But would socialism work? Has it ever worked? It's like people are typing in their socialist views on an iPhone without seeing the irony in that. They are hating the billionaires on social media, typing it all into their smartphone without seeing the irony. I see the irony in that. And like conservatives, they say that they are conservatives. And I'm like, well, how conservative are you? Which time in the past do you want to go back to? Most conservatives, they tend to, look very much like, I don't know, people from the 50s, 60s. That's not very conservative if you ask me. I would say if you're a conservative, you should grow out your hair, move out into the countryside, get some cattle. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I think it's in my rights. I have the right to say I'm an anarchist while still saying that I realize it would never work. Anarchy is not a political stance. It's not being leftist or to the right. It's the absence of a political stance. And people tend to get confused. And I have been asked, well, not so much asked, but people have assumed my political stance, even though this is not really a political channel, and it probably never will be. But I have seen in the comments on the same video people accusing me of being woke and leftist and liberal and also conservative and right-leaning, which is kind of funny, Let's walk this way. I realize now that I have the microphone on me, so as long as I'm under the umbrella, we should be good. Being an anarchist it's a bit like being an atheist. While atheism means without a god, anarchy, as I said, means without a ruler. So it's just the absence of the blackberries they're getting there behind me. Blackberries, I love blackberries. In English call them brambles, I think. Yeah. So it's the absence of a political leaning. And I've always thought that let's just have some rules that are based on just common sense, and let's not add rules apart from that. That actually means that I am very anti-liberal when it comes to things like drugs and alcohol, such things, because I will say that it's very naive to think that people can handle that. When I was editing this video, I realized that I need to further emphasize that there are things that people, they can't really handle these things, right? So I mentioned drugs and alcohol. And that's why I'm not a liberal at all. And I do not think that people should be able to do what they want with these things. So, drugs, people will lead to people, and alcohol will lead to people driving intoxicated, harming other people. It will lead to violence and all sorts of horrible things. And when it comes to, you know, weapons, I think that's a good example. I do believe that every country in every country the citizen should have the right to defend himself or herself. But we can't just say, well, do whatever you want, because that will lead to things like private companies building the atomic bomb and selling it to highest bidder, right? Hold on. And yeah, so there needs to be consequences. I'm not a libertarian, I'm not a liberal. And there are other things too, like your property rights. And, you know, we need to have a system that prevents gangs of criminal people stealing your house, for instance, which would happen in an anarchy. Just practicing my archery. Getting back to that. So yeah, that's why I'm saying that I'm a philosophical or theoretical anarchist. And I'm also saying that anarchy would never work. I'll probably put that in the title of this video. Let's walk down to the field because it got a little bit too windy up there. Too windy for my umbrella. I think this is the first time ever I'm using an umbrella in one of my videos here. Now before I continue, let me tell you about the sponsor of this video, which is Folk Realms. And Folk Realms is, it's kind of a social media platform, but without the AI, without all the political nonsense, without people bullying each other. Especially if you're interested in our European so-called pagan past, mythology and that sort of thing. And I'm there on folkrealms.com, so come and join me there. Speaking of AI, I think I'm going to have to do more of these walk and talk videos. And the reason is that AI, people, well, I like to call people using AI, I like to call them thieves. They have now started stealing the background. So for me, you know, I have a few campsites. They could steal my background. Now that I'm saying it, they probably will, if they haven't already. It has happened to other YouTubers. It's very sad what it's come to. It's very sad, but I'll try to, you know, make it difficult for them. And if you want to support my work here, you will never see any AI here on this channel or any of my channels. Not using AI to write the scripts, not using AI to make the thumbnails. If you want to support my work here, please subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome. So yeah, there you have it. I'm not really a political person. I'm not a dogmatic person. I'm not a religious person. As I said, people have been accusing me or telling me, oh, you're a leftist, you're a right-leaning person, you're a conservative, you're this and you're that, whatever. So, hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back in a few days with another one. Bye-bye.